This is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video I'm going to be demonstrating how to make the Cool Hand Crochet Pocket Scarf, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. Please go to the link in the description. There you'll find both the right and left-handed video tutorials, and right underneath those there is a link to the written pattern, as well as links to all the supplies you need. To make the Cool Hand Crochet Pocket Scarf, you'll need Red Heart Irresistible. I used 4 balls to make mine, but if you choose to make a different length, you may need additional yarn or even less if you make it shorter. The finished size shown here is 64 inches long and 9 inches wide. I'm 5'7", so that seemed to be the right length for me. Now here I have the finished scarf right in front of me. You can see it has 2 buttons. These are just decorative, so they're completely optional. And it also has pockets big enough to put your hands in, or even a smaller skein of yarn, maybe not one of these big skeins of Irresistible, but a small skein of yarn in your hook if you're working and walking around at the same time, or just have a spare set of pockets. So let's go ahead and work this scarf together. Okay, as you can see, Red Heart Irresistible is a 7 jumbo yarn, a great big thick yarn, which is one of the reasons I've chosen to hand crochet it. If you want to use a crochet hook to make this pattern, I found that a UST or 30mm would work well, but those are quite difficult to find. So I chose to make it with my hands. So to begin, we're going to begin like we would any project with a slip stitch. So we're just going to go ahead and make our slip stitch just as we normally would. Pull it so that the loop is about the size of 2 fingers, or perhaps your finger and your thumb. Then go ahead, yarn over with the yarn just as you normally would, right on over your finger, pull it through, and make sure that loop is the same size again. Then you can just continue right on making chains with your hands. So far I've made 2 chains and I need to make 6 total. So let's make 4 more. So there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that is our 6 chains. Then we're ready to begin single crocheting back across our chain. Now I'm going to work into the back hump again, just because that's how I normally like to crochet when I use a hook. I think it gives a nice finished edge. So I'm going to skip the chain closest to my hand in this case and go to the next chain. The back hump's right here. So I'm just going to go right under that loop with my fingers, yarn over again with the yarn, pull it right up through there. Again, size it using my forefinger and thumb. Then I can yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, make sure that's the same loop size again, and I've got my first single crochet. Then I can just continue to work right on across the chain. Since I chained 6, I should have 5 single crochets here when I get to the end of this chain. And that is it. Because these are such great big stitches, it's only 5 single crochets across to make a scarf that is about 9 inches wide. So just take your time, pull each loop through, make sure it's about that same size. Let's see, get to the last stitch here. It's actually a little bit easier, I think, to get into that last stitch with your fingers than it is with a hook. So let me pull up a little bit more yarn here for the next row. And we'll be ready to stop here and take a look. I'll just give it a little tug, sort of get the stitches to lie in place here. And there we go. We've got our 5 single crochets made. So that is it. That's all you need to know how to single crochet for the first row. Let's go ahead and make row 2. I'm going to pull that loop back down so it's not too big again. I still want it to be about that size. Yarn over again, pull it through to chain 1. Then I'm going to turn. And then to begin row 2, I'm just going to work under those top 2 loops, just like I would if I had a hook in my hand here. Pull that loop up high again, yarn over, pull through, pull that loop through, and there's the first one. And then of course I can just continue right on across. So if you've been crocheting for a little while or a long while, I think this is a lot of fun. It's just a little bit of a different way to sort of think about your crochet stitches. It's a different way to do it. And it might have you just even thinking a little bit more about the way the crochet stitches are formed. So let me just work on across here. Make sure I get that loop the right size. There we go. Pull that loop through, and that's it. We've got our row 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, just like any other project, if you find a stitch turns out a little wobbly or too big, you can just pull it on out, resize that loop on your fingers and make it again. And that is the basic stitch that we're going to use for this pattern. So as you make the Cool Hand Crochet pocket scarf, the pockets are part of the scarf that get folded up at the ends. So what you're going to do is make 6 rows just like this. We've already made 2, so I need 4 more rows of single crochet. So let me go ahead and make those. You go ahead and make yours, and I'll come back for row 7. Okay, I've only done 4 rows here, but again, it's just rows of single crochet. I'm just worried I'm going to run out of the little half ball here that I've been using the demo with. I'm going to go ahead and demo row 7 now. What you want to do to begin row 7 is chain 1, just as you've been doing all along, and turn. And then we're going to single crochet in the back loop only. So if you've crocheted in the back loop only with a hook before, this should be pretty self-explanatory. The front loop is always that loop of the top V at the top of the stitch that is closest to you. The back loop is the one that's always furthest away. So when you turn your fabric, this one would become the front loop. If I turn it this way, this one's the front loop. It's always the one closest to you as the crocheter. So to go under the back loop only, we're just going to put our finger right in the middle of that V. So we go under just that back loop, pull up our loop, and finish our single crochet. That's it. That's the only difference. Just go under the back loop right in the middle of that V. So let me show you again really a little bit slower here. There's those top 2 loops. I'm just going to go under the back one to pull up my yarn and yarn over. So as I finish up these last 2 here, you'll be able to see what this creates. There we go. Is a little bit of a line right there, sort of a ridge that sticks out. This is going to be the fold line so that when we continue to make our scarf, when we get to the end and we're all done crocheting, we can fold up right on that line and then sew the sides to create the pocket along our scarf. So at this point, for beginning with row 7 and then through row 55, that is the actual length of your scarf. Since the ends will get folded up to make the pockets, that's where you can adjust the length of your scarf for the individual. I find you want to make your scarf about as long as someone is tall because that's about the same as their wingspan. So that works out well for this type of scarf. Now, when you get to the other end again, of course, when you get all 55 or however many rows you want to make for your height, you get to row 56, it's the exact same as row 7, which we just made, where you crochet in the back loop only, and then you've just got a few more rows to make that second pocket so you can fold up that second end. So I'm going to make just a few more rows here so I can demonstrate how to sew the pockets together, and then we'll be all finished with our Cool Hand Crochet pocket scarf. Okay, so when you've finished all 61 rows, or however many you've decided to make for your size, then it's time to go ahead and assemble it. So you've got your full-length scarf here. I'm going to turn it over. Here we can see that edge we made. This was that back loop only edge. So we know that's our fold line for this pocket. So we just fold it right up there. As you can see, actually having that back loop only edge makes it a little bit easier there. Obviously this isn't a full one. This is my little swatch here, but this is where we're going to sew the sides together. So what I like to do here is go ahead and cut a length of the matching yarn. I'm actually going to open this back up, and I'm going to use my fingers to go ahead and start weaving in the very first end. I'm going to go ahead and just slip the yarn underneath other stitches here. Now, when I made the Big Fast Pocket Scarf, which is a knit version of this scarf, which you can find the tutorial for here on the Moogly blog channel as well, I did use a large yarn needle to try and weave in these ends, and that works too. But honestly, your fingers work just as well for the crochet version particularly. So I just go back and forth a couple different directions to secure down that end really well. And then I'm ready to go ahead and start sewing with it. You can even split the yarn if you want to into its 2 separate plies and weave those in separately if you feel like that will give you a little more security. But honestly, I haven't found that this yarn is slick enough for it to really pull back through, so that's not too bad. So now I've got my yarn anchored in here. Let me just do one more weave in here to get it real close to the edge where my fold's going to be. Then I can fold up my pocket here. And then I'm basically going to whip stitch right through the edge using my fingers. So it's up to you exactly how you want to start this, but I'm just going to sort of match up my rows here, get them lined up. I could use stitch markers if I had great big ones, or maybe clips would work better here of some kind to clip them together. And then I'm just going to go under the stitch on one side of the scarf with the yarn, and then find the matching point on the other side, and then I'll just come right on back through. Since this is our first one here, I'll come right back out that same hole again. So basically a whip stitch. Get that one right in there. Then I'll just move up a little ways here, see where they seem to match, where it feels like another stitch would go well. Maybe match up these two right here. Here's one from the top and one from the bottom. Seems like a good place. Just go ahead and put my yarn right through both of those loops and pull it down like so. And then just continue working my way on up the scarf until I've reached the top of the pocket. So we'll just sort of match those up here like so. And then with that, give it a little tug here, that side of our pocket is sewn. So then of course I would repeat that on the other side, and then as for this end, I could flip it over and weave the ends in on the back, and I would probably end up putting the very end of the portion I'd weave in. Of course I wouldn't weave in quite this much, I'd cut it down a little bit. I'd probably end up putting the end so it faces on the inside of the pocket where it won't be seen and it won't stick out. But otherwise, that is about it. Of course, if I pull back up our finished one here, we can take another look at that. Here is our cool hand crochet pocket scarf. You can see we've got our back loop line right here, folded up nicely, and here is our button. Again, this is just a decorative button, but I really feel like they add to the look of the scarf. And of course, then you've got these nice, great big pockets right there. You can put your hands right in there and stay nice and cozy, warm, and put whatever you like in there, whatever you need, your cell phone, your work in progress, whatever you like. So don't forget to pick up some Red Heart Irresistible and give the Cool Hand Crochet Pocket Scarf a try. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll give hand crocheting a try. It's just a lot of fun, and it's just a little different way to think about crocheting. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.